Hey guys, welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and today we're joined by Tom Arnold up in GameXplain North to discuss the latest round of screenshots from SmashBrothers.com confirming that Zelda is returning to the game. Big surprise, so let's get started. Alright Tom, so I did not expect them to announce another character this soon, but they just announced Rosalina. But they confirmed that Zelda's coming back, which, I think we all expected, but she's been in every Smash Brothers but the first one. So, they showed off, about 12 screenshots or so, I think. Did you play as Zelda much in Brawl at all, or?
I did. I would usually use her if I wanted a quicker character and just turn it into Sheik, basically.
Right. So that's perhaps the first thing we noticed here is there's no Sheik in these pictures.
I'm deeply concerned.
So now Derek mentioned, and he could be wrong. He mentioned that when they announced Zelda in Smash Brothers Brawl, that he believes that they showed off Zelda and Sheik at the same time. And this time, again, no sign of Sheik. So that maybe means Sheik's not coming back?
Can I just choose Sheik as a character and not Zelda?
I guess that, I guess that is one possibility, because they do have, they've confirmed that the Wii Fit trainer, it seems like you'll be able to choose a male avatar too.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how they're going to do it this time. Maybe instead of choosing being a Zelda or Sheik, or choosing, starting off as one and being able to switch to the other, maybe just outright choose one of the characters. And I mean that would kind of work, just because, at least the way I play the game, like I was basically always just one or the other.
Right.
I rarely switched between the game during the game itself, and that's partially because it took so long for the transition in Brawl to happen. It was like 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah,
and
lifetime.
Yeah, it was. And plus, Zelda was just way better than Sheik anyway, in my opinion. But there's something else that kind of ties into that idea, but we'll get to that in a second. So looking at the screenshots though, what do you think of seeing Zelda in this game? We can tell that it's based on her Twilight Princess appearance.
Yeah. And
in effect, at least to me, she looks very similar to how she looked in Smash Brothers Brawl. So what do you think of that? Do you think?
Well, it's definitely, I'm fine with it. It's surprising how in all these screens she looks really pissed. But it's just surprising, you think the Nintendo characters are happy, outgoing. And then this one, Zelda in the games is usually not pretty sort of in a negative mood, but here it's like she's pissed all the time.
She does look pretty grumpy in most of these screenshots. But I think her Twilight Princess incarnation is always on the more serious side.
Yeah.
So no, I guess one thing, I didn't even think about it till they confirmed Zelda was here in this form. But I'm a little bit disappointed that it wasn't maybe her Skyward Sword, take on the character. So we've seen this character before,
right?
Twice now already, basically. I think she looked different in Melee, but I think it would have been kind of cool to see a Skyward Sword version of one of these characters, especially because they had the Skyward Sword arena. At least in the Wii U version.
The main thing out of these screenshots is that they don't show Sheik, but they show her doing a smash type move with her character, the Knight armor from Spirit Tracks that she would take over. So right there, that could mean maybe they just have done away with Sheik, and this time around it's Zelda and she controls the armor, like what you were saying earlier, like Rosalina and Illuma. So
yeah, so that's by far the most interesting screenshot, because I wasn't able to do a ton of research before this discussion, but all the moves we see look very similar to Smash Brothers Brawl.
Yeah.
But the key, the one screenshot here that really stands out is using I forget what they're called, but one of the knights or soldiers from Spirit Tracks that Zelda would possess in those games. So the question is this actually like a secondary character along the lines of Illuma, as you mentioned, or Ice Climbers, or is it just, is Sakurai just playing with us? Like, could this be like an assist trophy that appears, and they've made it look like she's controlling it, because she does, but she does strike like a similar looking pose. Like in the screenshot, it looks like she is controlling him.
Yeah. But then there's a lot of screens where two characters are doing the exact same thing. It's like, look, it's hilarious. They're doing the same thing.
Right, exactly.
All the time.
And, so I'm conflicted on this, but let me get your take first. I guess, which do you prefer? Do you want to see that to be like an alt character or, secondary character for her? Or what do you think it could be?
I did like playing as Sheik, but if it's sort of a total refresh of the character where you control her control that suit of armor, I'm all for something new in the game.
Yeah, I actually agree because a lot of the characters, some of the characters feel similar.
Yeah.
Zelda never did though, I will say. But I think the more they can do to make them feel distinct from one another, the better. And I think having more secondary characters, which they seem to be doing, with Ice Climbers now, Rosalina and Luma, or Rosaluma, and Zelda, and potentially this a Knight character.
Yeah.
Now the thing is though, the odd thing is, again, it's based on her Twilight Princess version, not her Spirit Tracks form.
Yeah.
Where she was a more cartoony, anime type, or not even anime, but more cartoony style.
Toon shaded.
Toon shaded, exactly. And the main thing, though, is the reason she was able to do that in Spirit Tracks was because she was a spirit. She was a ghost. She was dead, basically.
Yeah.
And she was able to possess, our suits of armor. So I wonder if they're even going to bother describing that here, because quite clearly, if this is indeed a secondary character of hers, she's still controlling it. She's still in human form, not spirit form. So I wonder if they're going to even bother trying to tie that in, contextually, or maybe you just see maybe she uses a magic spell now to possess it or something.
Yeah, cause she did have a lot of magic in the previous ones. They don't really show any of her magic attacks too much here. There's none. She doesn't have a red one, but I don't know. It'd be hilarious if it was something like the Pokemon trainer in the background controlling the Pokemon. There's just a suit of armor dropped in the stage every time it just controls it. Of course, it'd be more fitting if she died and then control it just to wreak havoc with the other people, but she is obviously alive.
So, that's another thing, is how exactly could this work if it is a second character? Will it be, do you take full control of that knight and Zelda just stands there? Kind of like, I guess kind of like Pokemon Trainer in the background, where he doesn't do anything. Except it seems that Zelda would still be vulnerable here. Because, with Rosalina and Luma, it seems like you control both characters at the same time.
Right.
So with this one, it almost seems like, it's impossible to tell, but one thought is basically it acts as a bodyguard, basically, where Zelda remains stationary, and you use a knight to basically, go on the offensive and defend her at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know, do you have any thoughts as to how that may work? Do you think you'll control both of them like Ice Climbers or Rosalina and Luma, or?
My thoughts is, when I saw the screen first off, I sort of thought the armor would be there, maybe following you, or it would be summoned, and it would just do a quick attack in front of you and then kind of disappear, or jump off screen, or I guess in this case it could just fall apart, it wasn't possessed anymore. It'd be, you do the attack, it would sort of appear, and then that's it.
Right.
Your ideas seem a lot better in terms of long-term gameplay, but I just imagine the armor being used for a quick move.
Yeah, that is possible. The reason I think that's not the case is because that's something we haven't really seen before. Yeah. I guess you're saying it's along the lines of Princess Peach and her Toad counter, where he appears for a second and goes away.
Yeah.
I feel that's certainly possible. I feel like this guy's a little bit too elaborate looking to do one move. But, as along those lines, he could be an assist trophy, who just appears, does a couple attacks and runs away.
Yeah.
That kind of makes more sense to me than him being an alternate form of Zelda, or secondary form of Zelda, because what all can these guys do? In Spirit Tracks, you basically walk around as his knight. I think you can slice your sword, and that's it. I don't know how in depth of a moveset he could have, but maybe it could be something where you summon him, with a special attack, and he only has one move that you activate by using that same special attack again.
Yeah.
And maybe you still have full control of Zelda at the same time. So maybe he walks around by himself and he just activates attack occasionally, or while you're controlling Zelda.
Yeah.
There's tons of possibilities, really.
He doesn't look like he's glowing like one of the Smash Ball attack moves or anything like that.
Yeah.
That would be an option where you just
like a Final Smash.
Final Smash.
Oh, that's
They even announced Final Smash.
They have.
This game? Okay.
Those are confirmed. So that's an interesting point. You're right. She's not glowing though.
Yeah.
I guess that's a possibility, but yeah, she should be glowing, I think, if that were the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an interesting thought. That would kind of make sense if it were a.
That makes sense. You just drop down the stage and just start running around pretty slowly, but he'd be swinging his sword at the guys, and
right.
You'd want to stay clear. If he hit you, you'd be dead. So.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting idea. Yeah, again, I guess that lack of glowing kind of is a problem with the idea, but it's interesting, and yeah, who knows? Because I always thought her Final Smash was kind of lame in Brawl.
Where I don't even remember what it was.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a light arrow, I think, and when its path was taken out. So yeah, if I recall correctly. Yeah, so it'd be cool to see. I mean, any of these ideas I think sound interesting. So based on these ideas, so are you okay with Sheik potentially being gone in replacement of him, maybe?
Well, I could always go back and play Smash Brothers Brawl.
That's true.
I mean,
that's how I feel. Like, I want them to switch up this game as much as possible. Like some of the like we talked about in our last discussion, I think, with me and Derek, where it seems like some of these new characters almost seem too awesome, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But they're making some of the old characters seem really lame. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like these guys, the Mega Man and Rosalina have these really involved movesets, and some of the old characters seem almost pedestrian by comparison. And part of that is because we've seen them 3 times now. You
yeah,
know.
same thing.
Yeah.
Does Luigi have a vacuum yet?
Right? Why isn't he the Luigi's Mansion incarnation?
Well, there's Dr. Mario and Mario. It could be Luigi and Luigi Ghost Hunter.
That'd be pretty awesome. Although, I mean, Dr. Mario was like an easy change, so whereas Ghost Hunting Luigi would be a bit more involved. But I'd be totally on board with that. So, you know, there's not much else to take away from these screenshots, but they do show off Link a little bit more than we've seen before. You know, I just realized he looks awesome in this game. I think
Yeah.
he looks like they I don't know, matured him a little bit. Like he's not quite as boyish face looking. I think.
Well, he's an older one. He reminds me though of the Twilight Princess one a bit.
Well, it is. I mean, yeah, it's based on this Twilight Princess incarnation.
But that's fine. I mean, I guess Skyward Sword he sort of seemed a bit younger, like, definitely more boyish. So
again, I guess back to my question though, is because all these screenshots were taken in, or most of them were taken in the Skyward Sword area.
Yeah.
And it does seem kind of weird having Twilight Princess characters in the Skyward Sword arena. So I'm still, you know, I still kind of wish he had maybe switched up a little bit more and gone with the Skyward Sword interpretation of the characters. Do you have a preference though, or?
Well, to that, you know, it's a very unique style. Maybe they already have Toon versions of the characters coming up. Like it is on 3DS, so it would make sense to have.
Well, Toon Link is confirmed.
Link,
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, so.
But they were like a cross between Toon and Realistic and Skyward Sword.
Like it'd be neat, but I guess they figure people like the realistic Link and Zelda, so they just kept going with it.
And you know, the game does have a Ocarina of Time based arena, which is similar in style to, you know, Twilight Princess.
Here's a question: does it have a Twilight Princess style arena?
I was really hoping you weren't asking that, but I was trying to think back. I don't think it. No, it doesn't have one currently.
We would have noticed it. But that could be like the one good thing that comes out of that game. Sorry, anybody that likes it. But I mean, it would be really awesome. Like, imagine going along and all of a sudden, like, it becomes the Dark World or whatever.
Yeah,
that game
because they had
the transition.
They had the arena from Brawl, the Bridge of Elden, and yeah, they could. I feel like there's more potential to do something even cooler with that.
Yeah,
and yeah, that'd be really interesting if they, you know, incorporated the dual world mechanic in some way. But yeah, you know, who knows? I mean, I feel like if they're putting this much emphasis on Twilight Princess characters, I would feel like they'd have a Twilight Princess arena, but who knows, you know?
Maybe Link becomes the wolf in this game. That's why he's that one.
That would actually be awesome. Actually, I'd be on board with that.
That'd be
like have Link be the transforming character now instead of Zelda, and
I mean, we have Toon Link for the upward sort of slash crazy stuff still. I mean, we would get basically a similar Link to play with, but this one we'd have a different version with him as a wolf too. So that'd be pretty cool.
I agree. That would be cool. There's only one other thing I wanted to point out in this, and that's a screenshot with Donkey Kong, and just how goofy Donkey Kong looks in that screenshot. Like, I've always hated how Donkey Kong has looked in the Smash Brothers games. It was like he looks like just a big dumb ape, which I guess is what they were going for originally. But
well, in the first game, he kind of looked like a giant turd, really.
Well, he had like a little squirrel on top of his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just got like such a goofy face, and I don't know why they don't use his like Donkey Kong Country Returns character or any of the Donkey Kong Country takes on him, but he always just looks so goofy in these games. So, but I never use DK in these games much anyways. It doesn't bother me that much, but maybe that's why.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any final thoughts or on Zelda being back or anything we didn't cover here, Tom?
I guess final thoughts. I'm alright with Sheik leaving, but if they do have a character refresh, that's a pretty cool idea. And like, hopefully, maybe they even do it with other characters just to mix things up with the same characters we've been playing for like well over a decade now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It'd be cool they're mixing it up, but you know, we don't know for sure that Sheik's not back. They could just be playing with us.
Yeah.
It could be an alternate form. You know, who knows? But it does. it does look like they're hinting at the fact that maybe that Spirit Tracks armor, pseudo armor, is going to be the replacement for Shiek. Which I think looks interesting, and yeah, could be a lot of fun to play with. But I imagine we'll find out more in the next few months, if not the next few weeks, if they show off more screenshots. Hopefully, Sakurai will enlighten us via a Miiverse message.
Or he just does a complete mistake and puts her in another photo of a character and like somehow it's overlooked. There's so many of them.
I can see that. Alright, well I think that wraps it up for our Smash Brothers Zelda discussion, so thanks Tom for joining us, and thanks to all of you for watching. If you like this video, please make sure to like us and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You'll find links to them in the description below. Otherwise, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more on Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS and other things gaming too. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.